Revealed. The amazing truth. My daughter-in-law hid for 3 years. That will transform everything. In a small Midwestern town, Sarah's bakery was the heartbeat of the community, where each cinnamon roll carried the warmth of home and family. But as she stood in her kitchen, wrist deep in dough, a gnawing uncertainty began to plague her. Every proud mother dreams of watching her child settle into a new life. But with Jake's engagement to Anna quickly approaching, Sarah felt something shift within her, a deep-seated fear she couldn't easily articulate. It was as if the very essence of her family's legacy was teetering on the edge of an unknown precipice. Anna was the perfect addition to their family, beautiful, kind, and committed. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Anna than what met the eye. She recalled the evenings spent heartily discussing wedding plans, the glances Anna shared with Jake, and yet, within her gut, a sense of foreboding churned. Secrets, like unbaked cakes, tended to collapse under pressure. Shouldn't the foundation of family be built on honesty? As days passed, the excitement of the engagement dulled, and a dark undertone snaked through Sarah's thoughts. What was Anna truly willing to sacrifice for harmony? Was family loyalty worth suppressing one's passions? Each time Sarah watched Anna lovingly assist in the bakery, the burden of unrealized dreams hung heavily in the air like melted butter on warm pastries, tempting yet painful. And then she stumbled upon the colorful flyers plastered around town, announcing an art exhibition featuring Anna's work. A flood of pride burst and clashed with anger and unease. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you could leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The realization hit her hard. Anna had hidden an entire world of passion from them. Her heart raced. How could Anna find fulfillment while denying her family? It gnawed at her soul, tearing at the fabric of their burgeoning relationship. Wasn't family the one place safe enough to vent one's aspirations without fear of judgment? Sarah couldn't help but feel inadequate, questioning whether she had stifled the very dreams Anna sought to express. As the art show loomed closer, Sarah faced an unbearable strain. One evening, after a remarkably quiet dinner, the rage burst forth like molten chocolate. "You should have told us," she demanded, managing to keep her voice steady despite the storm brewing within. Anna's expression morphed from shock to hurt, a flicker of betrayal that ignited the already brewing tempest. "I couldn't," she whispered, her voice breaking, revealing a heart tangled in the expectations of her own upbringing. Anna's pain bore down on Sarah, pushing her toward an unsettling realization. What if she'd been placing more importance on maintaining a family image than embracing Anna's true self? With every stroke of paint Anna laid, Sarah's vision of their future family threatened to splinter. The opening night of the exhibition was rapidly approaching, and tension cocooned their home. Sarah had to confront an agonizing truth. Could she support Anna's individuality without risking her entire perception of family? Only time would reveal the depth of that sacrifice. And as the night approached, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. Would she be able to reconcile Anna's artistry with her traditional beliefs? Or would the pressure snap the threads of their relationship forever? As the day of the exhibition unfolded, Sarah stood at her bakery, the familiar scent of cinnamon and sugar enveloping her like a comforting hug. Yet, as she moved through the motions of her routine, rolling dough, slicing bread, her mind was elsewhere. Each knead of the dough mirrored her inner turmoil, pushing her to confront the looming confrontation that awaited. The vibrant, painted canvases were not just a display of Anna's artistry. They represented a world where Sarah's carefully curated family image could shatter. She glanced at the clock, counting down the hours until the event. Time seemed both an ally and an adversary, and with each tick, her fears multiplied. The thought of seeing Anna's work brought forth a wave of conflicting emotions, pride mixed with anxiety, admiration tangled with envy. Would she be able to genuinely celebrate Anna's triumph, or would jealousy seep through her facade? When Jake entered the bakery, his expression lit up with excitement. "Are you coming to the exhibition tonight, Mom?" he asked, radiating the enthusiasm of a carefree child, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath Sarah's calm exterior. She stifled a sigh, momentarily caught between her instincts to protect and her desire to support. It was clear that Jake saw the event as a joyful milestone, a reflection of the bright future he envisioned, while for Sarah, it felt like a raw nerve laid exposed. "Yes, of course," she replied, managing a tight smile as she fought against the knot in her stomach. But as he chatted about Anna's artistic accomplishments, the connections she was forging, the acclaim she was beginning to receive, Sarah felt the burden of unexpressed thoughts swell inside her chest. "Do you think she'll ever let us see what she keeps hidden?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jake looked puzzled, clearly unaware of the underlying tension. "Mom, what are you talking about? She's just doing what she loves. You should be proud." His words landed like small jabs, forcing Sarah to contemplate her hesitations. Why couldn't she embrace this side of Anna? The truth felt like an unwelcome guest. She feared acknowledging that Anna's passion might outshine her own legacy, both as a mother and as a business owner. The afternoon passed with fleeting moments of false calm as the bakery filled with customers. They delighted in sweet treats, oblivious to the tempest brewing within Sarah. Each cheerful laugh around her felt like a warning bell tolling. At that moment, she realized she had two clear choices before her. She could either continue down the path of skepticism, risking her relationship with Anna, or pivot toward acceptance, embracing the unpredictable beauty of art and individuality. As closing time approached, Sarah lingered over the last few pastries, her mind racing through possibilities. She could channel her internal conflict into something productive. Couldn't she find a way to integrate Anna's world into her own? The thought ignited a flicker of determination in her heart. That evening, standing in front of the exhibition hall, a place that seemed to pulse with vibrant energy, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. With every step she took toward the entrance, confidence slowly began to replace doubt, inching out the resentment that had clenched her heart. As the doors swung open, the overwhelming colors and sounds enveloped her. But it was Anna herself who caught her eye, adorned in a brilliant dress that matched the hues of her art. The sight sent a rush of conflicting emotions through Sarah, but there was no turning back now. The time had come to face the truth of not only Anna's identity, but also her own. As she stepped inside, the realization struck her. The real challenge lay not in Anna's art, but in her capacity to embrace change, to redefine family, and to discover her own passions buried beneath generations of expectation. What doors would this confrontation open? The moment of truth had finally arrived, but the path forward was anything but clear. Would she rise to the occasion, or would fear continue to override her resolve? As Sarah stepped into the exhibition hall, the dazzling array of colors and the soft hum of conversation enveloped her like a second skin. She glanced around, searching for the familiar faces of friends and family, but found herself drawn to the artwork that decorated the walls. Each piece radiated emotion, conveying Anna's passion unapologetically. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a pang of curiosity mingling with her anxiety. Was it possible that Anna's art had the power to alter not just her perception, but the family's narrative altogether? As she walked further into the gallery, she felt an odd sense of detachment. The laughter and chatter of others felt like distant echoes against the clamor of her thoughts. She was acutely aware of the judgment she placed on herself as she compared her life's work to Anna's vibrant expressions. The dichotomy left her feeling inadequate and unsure. Was she simply a baker, trapped within the confines of her own creations, while Anna soared freely within her artistic realm? Jake's excited voice pulled her momentarily from her reverie. "Mom, "Look at that one!" He pointed toward a vivid landscape painting, the strokes bold and unapologetic. The artwork captured a sunset that melted seamlessly into a bustling city, merging the tranquil and the chaotic. "Isn't it amazing how she captures the world?" Jake said, his eyes wide with admiration. Sarah forced a smile, but inside, discomfort churned with increasing intensity. Acceptance weighed heavily on her. Where Jake saw beauty, she saw insecurity. Anna was developing into an artist who could express hidden truths, revealing facets of herself that Sarah feared she might never understand. A gentle hand clasped her shoulder, and Sarah turned to see Anna standing beside her, glowing with a warmth that temporarily eased her anxiety. "You made it!" Anna exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Sarah noticed the subtle tremor in Anna's voice, delight mingled with her mother's reserved temperament. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," Sarah replied, trying to sound more enthusiastic than she felt, but her heart was racing. It wasn't just Anna's art that terrified her. It was the realization that she might have to confront her role in a world where Anna could thrive, while she was tethered to her comfort zone. "Let me show you more of my favorites," Anna said, leading Sarah through the crowd. Each painting they passed revealed layers of Anna's character, aspects of her personality that Sarah hadn't fully grasped before. Shadows filled with hope, vibrant colors splashed upon canvases, pieces of Anna that had remained unseen, much like the daughter-in-law's own talents hidden behind Sarah's expectations. As Anna passionately explained the inspiration behind each piece, Sarah found herself captivated. She began to catch glimpses of her own neglected interests. Cooking had always been her outlet, but art, too, stirred something deep within her. Suddenly, the ordinary act of kneading dough didn't seem sufficient to contain the realms of expression that Anna embodied so effortlessly. A realization dawned on her. By holding on to her fear of inadequacy, she risked limiting Anna's potential along with her own. Could she embrace Anna's passion without letting it overshadow her own identity? As the night wore on, Sarah approached a particularly captivating piece, a mixed media work that featured elements reminiscent of her bakery, intricate textures interwoven with delicate artistry. "This one. It reminds me of my pastries," she gasped, feeling a connection form like an invisible thread tethering her to Anna. "I based it on your bakery," Anna admitted, a shy smile gracing her lips. "I wanted to show how beauty can be found in the everyday, like the love you put into your creations." At that moment, Sarah felt a profound sense of clarity. Perhaps she could merge her own world with Anna's. The boat of her professional life could navigate turbulent waters and reach unexpected shores. Could she venture into this uncharted territory where art and culinary delights reflected one another? The thought energized her, kindling a desire to explore her own creative outlets beyond baking. It was an opportunity to redefine her legacy, a fresh start that didn't have to exist in isolation from her family's artistic journey. But just as that hopeful feeling welled up within her, a shadow flickered at the edges of her mind. If she opened that door, would she risk sliding away from the essence of who she thought she was? Would her acceptance of Anna's vibrant world diminish her own? As these questions loomed large, Sarah faced a crossroads. Was she ready to confront the deeper elements of herself and take that leap into the unknown, or retreat to the comfort of her bakery? The exhibition buzzed around her, vibrant and alive, urging her to decide. With new determination, she finished her glass of wine and turned toward Anna, ready to finally voice the thoughts that had lingered in silence for too long. However, before she could speak, a figure stepped into her path, an uninvited distraction shrouding her moment of courage. "Aren't you proud, Sarah, of what your daughter-in-law has achieved?" The question hung in the air, thick with challenge, and suddenly all eyes turned toward her. Caught off guard, Sarah's heart raced anew as the eyes of the crowd bore down on her. This was no longer about Anna's art, it was about her inescapable truth. Would she falter under the weight of judgment, or step forward into her own newfound identity? The response felt monumental. foreshadowing the evolution she was on the cusp of embracing. The words hung in the air like a weight she couldn't bear. Sarah's pulse quickened as she processed the question, a provocation that felt both foreign and painfully familiar. The laughter and chatter dimmed, and all that remained was the imposing gaze of friends, family, and strangers alike, awaiting her response, their expectations tangling with her own reluctant self-reflection.
Yes,
she began, her voice wavering. The nod that accompanied her half-hearted affirmation seemed insincere, a betrayal of the conflicting emotions swirling inside her. Pride felt like an obligation, a performance she didn't know how to give. But as the eyes of the crowd searched her expression, something sparked within. What did they truly see? An unyielding baker? The mother-in-law? She resisted the urge to revert to her comfortable role, the very persona she had donned as armor against criticism. Instead, she summoned a gust of courage. "I'm proud of all that she has achieved." A murmur of appreciation rippled through those gathered, and yet the echo of uncertainty still clung to her like a shadow. It was a response she envisioned would invite respect and validation, yet within lay a torrent of unspoken fears. How long could she cling to this facade while grappling with her own sense of purpose? The recognition of Anna's triumph felt like a mirror reflecting her shortcomings. But whose narrative was she living? Would her validation only come through the spotlight cast by Anna's success? As adrenaline surged, Sarah felt a flicker of resolve stirring within. She had spent years cultivating her bakery, creating intricate pastries that were often hailed as works of art in their own right, yet she had shied away from her identity in a broader sense. Anna's invitation to explore her artistic impulse resonated deeper now. It was an urge to fuse their worlds, their talents. "I want to create too," she blurted, surprising even herself. It was a proclamation meant more for her than for the crowd. The words resonated like a tuning fork, vibrating with layers of forgotten ambition. "I can't keep limiting myself to just making pastries when I know there's more to explore." The stunned silence shifted gradually, something brightening in the atmosphere, a subtle acknowledgement of vulnerability. Recognition flickered in Anna's eyes, a shared understanding sparking between them. "I want to merge our talents," Sarah pressed, a burgeoning excitement transforming her initial anxiety. "I see so much about art in what I create." The energy enveloping her felt liberating, as if the shackles of self-doubt began to loosen their grip. Just as she thought she had taken charge of the narrative, a familiar yet unwelcome voice broke her thoughts. "But haven't you always wanted this, Sarah? To be the centerpiece?" It was one of her close friends, planting seeds of doubt like weeds in fertile soil. Immediately, the breath hitched in her throat. "What do you mean by centerpiece?" She was unprepared for the confrontation. No longer could she separate herself from the conflicting legacies of art and baking. The contention spiraled terrifyingly close to her insecurities. "Haven't you feared being overshadowed by Anna? Isn't that why you question your worth?" Her friend's words were sharp, and each syllable stirred an intensity in the room, beckoning eyes to remain fixed on Sarah as if waiting for an admission. The roots of her anxiety sprinted back into focus, years of comparison, moments basked in envy rather than inspiration. Was this what her journey had reduced to? The nagging insecurity bared itself, unmasking itself alongside unfamiliar but necessary resolve. She was indeed at a crossroads, challenged to claim her own narrative rather than yielding it to the confines of perception. "Maybe I have," she admitted quietly, tracing the outline of her past in that singular moment. "But perhaps it's time I stopped viewing it that way." This time, Sarah took a breath, feeling a new determination rise within her, like freshly baked bread. "I'll find a way to express myself through my baking, to embrace art, to no longer compare. I have my own voice." With those words solidifying a new intention, the crowd shifted. A palpable change awaited as she turned toward Anna. But before she could deepen the conversation, Another voice cut through the moment again, deeper and more confrontational. Then if you want to paint with your flower, what will you do when you find the palette is filled with resentment? The question pierced the moment, heavy with challenge. It was an invitation to engage with the turmoil festering at the edge of her consciousness. The question loomed like a specter, raising the stakes of her resolve. Now torn between the exhilaration of potential collaboration and the gnawing fear of venturing too far from the stability she so desperately clung to, Sarah faced the threshold of transformation. Would she allow her potential to rise, or would she retreat into the shadows of her comfort zone once more? In the charged atmosphere of the gallery, Sarah realized the time had come. She was on the brink of defining more than just herself, but also her relationships with Anna, the art, and her creations. In that poised moment, she could feel the confines of her old identity shattering, the echoes stirring impatience in her veins. The exhibition was not merely a showcase of Anna's art. It was the canvas upon which Sarah could paint her own rebirth. With each passing second, the chasm between who she had been and who she wanted to be shrank. With attention still trained on her, Sarah's heart raced in anticipation of what was to come, preparing to respond to the challenge looming before her. The fate of her journey awaited, just beyond the brushstroke of her next choice. Sarah's breath escaped in a rush as the weight of her newfound declaration lingered in the air. The crowd's expectations felt magnified, a scrutiny that ignited heat in her cheeks. A wave of conflicting emotions surged within her, the thrill of potential mingled with the fear of failure as she faced the abyss of change. She had always stood on the sidelines, crafting her pastries with careful precision, but now, here she was, poised at the precipice of artistic reinvention. The provocative question about resentment clawed at her heart, forcing her to confront the darker corners of her mind. What if she truly stepped outside her role? What if the paints of her flower resulted in a canvas not of masterpiece, but disaster? The notion rattled her. She had built walls around her comfort zone, thick and unyielding, ideal for shielding her from judgment, yet stifling her potential. "No more," she whispered under her breath, as if acknowledging the serendipity that had led her to this moment. No more fear of overshadowing or of bitterness that could fester in the wake of Anna's brilliance. It was time to embrace her own talents, to carve out a path that was unmistakably hers. While her heart thudded loudly in her chest, making it difficult to hear the murmurs of disbelief from her friend, Sarah focused on the glimmer of support emanating from Anna. It was a reminder of the shared aspirations woven between them. Two artists exploring their mediums, bound by creativity rather than competition. "I've always wanted to create art through my baking," she articulated to the group, her voice gaining firmness with each word. "But fear kept me in a predefined box." Each assertion cemented her resolve, hoping to drown out the lingering doubts thumping in her mind. "I won't shy away from experimenting anymore. It's time to explore flavors, combine textures, pour my heart into everything I create." The moment hung in the air, vibrantly charged, until Anna stepped forward, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "That's the spirit. I have some ideas we could brainstorm together. Let's explore new possibilities." For the first time, Sarah felt a budding partnership instead of a rivalry. They could build something beautiful together, merging flavors with emotions, intertwining culinary and visual arts in an expression that was wholly unique. As the conversation blossomed, Sarah began to visualize how her pastries could transcend their traditional bounds. She saw herself crafting intricately plated desserts inspired by Anna's art, the swirl of color, the play of shadow. But with each vision, the specter of resentment lingered. Could she really avoid that bitterness as she stepped into an artist's limelight? The gnawing question taunted her at every turn, teasing her with possibilities, yet denying her peace. In a moment of contemplation, she turned away from the group to collect her swirling thoughts, seeking a strategy, a path forward that harmonized her ambition with her fears. Could she articulate the source of her resentment clearly enough to dismantle it? What about Anna's success had really affected her? As Sarah stared at the vibrant paintings around her, a potential plan began forming. What if she openly shared her vulnerabilities, invited Anna into her fears, and dismantled any comparisons hanging between them? "Hey, Anna," she began, eyes brightening with newfound affirmation. "We need to talk about our collaboration, not just creatively but personally. I want to ensure we're both on the same page." Anna nodded, understanding brimming in her gaze, a quiet promise exchanged without words. Perhaps the palette of their collaboration needed more than artistic vision. It required honesty, an exploration of emotions that could eventually fortify their bond or risk tearing it apart. As they stepped deeper into dialogue, Sarah's resolve solidified. Her heart raced not only with fear, but with unyielding hope. With each moment spent navigating the conversation, she was ready to break through and redefine the relationship she had with her art, with her daughter-in-law, and most importantly, herself. But as she prepared to delve deeper into those thoughts, a familiar figure crossed her path. Margaret, the friend whose words had previously echoed so harshly in the room, approached with an inscrutable expression. "What are you planning to do with all this newfound ambition, Sarah?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, as if scrutinizing the very core of Sarah's intentions. The question, however casual in tone, lit a fire within Sarah. Was she truly prepared to lay bare her aspirations and insecurities before someone who had consistently doubted her? Would she allow this moment to push her further toward transformation or retreat back into self-doubt? "What are you really asking?" Sarah shot back, her pulse racing. This was a moment pivotal enough to challenge what lay ahead. The confrontation unfolded, and Sarah stood at the cusp of a significant choice, torn between the freedom of her self-exploration and the fear that every liberated artist must face. The stage was set for a turning point, one that could either amplify her journey or unravel it in unexpected ways. The next few minutes could change everything. The air thickened as Sarah locked eyes with Margaret, an intensity shimmering between them that felt too heavy to bear. Each second seemed to stretch, the words Sarah had rehearsed in her mind about her ambitions and fears ready to surge forth. But instead, they tangled up inside her. Deep down, she wanted to disentangle the threads of doubt Margaret's skepticism had woven into her mind. How could she claim her space in the art world if the ghost of comparison still hovered behind her? "Do you think I'm capable?" The question slipped from her lips before she could even catch it, a raw admission spilling out part vulnerability and part challenge. Margaret raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk pulling at her lips that digested Sarah's longing for affirmation. "Here's the truth, Sarah," Margaret said, her tone dripping with condescension. "You've played it safe for too long. Are you ready to ditch the comfort zone? Because that's where real art lives." Each word hit Sarah like a hammer, her heart racing as a wave of defensive energy ignited within her. For too long, she had let others define her potential and aspirations, not only Margaret, but the shade of doubt that had persisted in her own mind. Yet even with adrenaline coursing through her, another voice emerged, quieter but more resolute. "Absolutely." The words slashed through the space between them. "You're right. I've spent too much time avoiding risk. I want to fully embrace this journey, to redefine both my art and myself. But don't think your opinions carry the weight to keep me in check." Was she truly ready to embrace that vulnerability? To hold herself accountable in front of someone who had consistently critiqued her every move? The thought sent a jolt through her. Margaret's expression shifted, curiosity replacing arrogance. "So, what are you intending to do about it?" The shift in tone struck Sarah, each word unlocking a door she had kept bolted shut. A plan began coalescing in her mind, one that inspired a sense of both excitement and terror. "I want to experiment, not just with flavors or aesthetics, but with my entire approach, to dig deeper into my own emotional landscape and see how that translates into my art. I plan to be vulnerable, open, and bold." In that moment, boldness became her ally. Breathing in deeper, she focused on Margaret, no longer a figure of intimidation, but a catalyst for change. I want to critique my fears honestly and move past them. No more hiding. Margaret's mouth opened slightly, as if to respond, but then she paused, her expression shifting to something akin to contemplation. Was doubt creeping into the lines of her brows? The thought brought a thrill to Sarah. Perhaps Margaret didn't hold all the cards after all. "Why do you care so much about what I think?" Margaret countered, her voice quieter now, the earlier bravado faltering. "Because you're a mirror of the judgments I've carried for years," Sarah replied. "Maybe you're right, maybe I have been complacent, but now I want to create freely, not just to please others, including you." The challenge hung thick in the air, palpable and charged with confrontation as Sarah leaned back, her resolve steadying beneath her. Would she walk away empowered by this interaction, or would doubt worm its way back into her thoughts? "Consider this," Sarah said, leveling her gaze firmly. "This is my transformation, not yours to dictate." The silence stretched, laden with the weight of change and self-discovery. As Margaret finally turned away, Sarah felt the liberating waves of possibility crash within. Their exchange had stirred something vital, a recognition that her power didn't lie within the shadows of expectation and scrutiny, but within her autonomous choice to create. She turned back towards Anna, her heart racing with renewed courage. "I'm okay. I'm ready to explore that collaboration, explore not just art, but the very essence of who I am as an artist." Anna beamed with encouragement, a matching spark of determination igniting in her bright eyes. "Let's channel that energy into something spectacular then. What's your first step?" Before she could answer, a deeper truth surfaced, louder than she anticipated. The real challenge lay not just in her art, but in her journey of self-acceptance. As they strategized together, Sarah felt a warm glow envelop her, an acceptance of her complexity, of the struggle to foster creativity amid doubt. However, an underlying alertness still prickled in her mind. A pressing notion clawed at her. Would shedding the weight of expectations threaten to unravel any bonds she had formed, both with Anna and in the world she sought to embrace? Despite the budding optimism around her, shadows still chased her. Fear of isolation creeping in amidst artistic growth. Just then, as they began to sketch a plan, another figure entered Sarah's periphery, one that had been a constant presence in her kitchen, both in support and skepticism. It was her older sister, Emily, arms crossed, a familiar skepticism playing on her features. "What's this I overheard about embracing vulnerability?" Emily's tone was teasing yet authentic. "Isn't that just another way of saying you're going to fail spectacularly?" The openness shared with Anna flashed in stark contrast to the wall Emily had erected between them over the years. Sarah barely contained the turbulence brewing within her. The question loomed. Was she ready to close the distance between herself and her sister, or remain trapped by the very chains of doubt she was trying to shatter? With her heart pounding anew, Sarah found herself at yet another crossroads, facing challenges layered in complexities as she braced for the confrontation that could either propel her forward or send her spiraling back into a familiar cycle of uncertainty. The relaxed cadence of Anna's voice faded into the background as Sarah turned to face Emily, her heart drumming loudly in her ears. Each heartbeat echoed the weight of unspoken words and pent-up emotions. The last time they had a deep conversation, it had ended in an argument, a chasm of misunderstanding widening between them. Now, confronted by Emily's playful jab, Sarah's resolve wavered. "Failing isn't my intent," Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "It's about learning and evolving. What's wrong with that?" "Nothing, if you're aiming for a hobby," Emily replied nonchalantly. "But you pretend like you're going for a real career. You know how competitive this field is." The skepticism in Emily's eyes blazed like a beacon, igniting familiar feelings of inadequacy within Sarah. She struggled to articulate her progress without sounding defensive. Yet, every beat of her heart reminded her of what she had just committed to, embracing honesty and boldness. "Can't you see that playing it safe has kept me stuck? It's time for me to explore what that means for me as an artist and a person." The words slipped out with an urgency that surprised even her. The very act of standing up to Emily pushed her new convictions deeper into her own psyche. Emily's expression shifted, but uncertainty remained stitched between her brow. "And what exactly does that look like? All I see is you experimenting with brushstrokes." Doubt tangling with her ambition, Sarah took a deep breath, fortifying her stance. "It's about digging into my emotions, not just the techniques. For once, I want my art to reflect who I am, without filtering it for others' approval." "I worry you'll regret taking these risks," Emily said softly, arms unfolding slightly. "What if it backfires?" "But what if I finally find my voice?" Sarah countered. The enthusiasm surged again as she painted a picture in her mind, a vision not of abstract art, but of authenticity. "Creativity demands vulnerability. To truly create, I have to be raw and unfiltered. You're not just playing with colors. There are careers and lives at stake." Emily's tone had a pleading edge, as if she were trying to extract Sarah from the path she was forging. "Do you think abandoning every defense is wise?" Crossing the line from skepticism to genuine concern pushed Sarah closer to a breakthrough. The challenge now was to remain transparent without succumbing to the pressure of another's expectations, especially from someone she loved. "I refuse to be dictated by fear any longer," she declared, surprising herself with the ferocity in her words. "I'm embracing the discomfort, the failures, the risks, and the rejection. If you can't support me in this, then what does that say about our relationship?" The inquiry hung directly between them, reverberating in the silence that followed. Sarah's inner conflict crashed against her protective instincts, caught between familial loyalty and her burgeoning independence. Emily shifted uneasily, a flicker of hurt darting across her features. "I just don't want to see you hurt again. I've seen how this affects you." In that moment, Sarah caught a glimpse of the rivalry wrapped in a veil of concern. Emily's protective instincts were layered with a deep-seated fear of vulnerability herself. If she chose to dig deeper, could they uncover something transformative together? "I appreciate your concern, but I won't grow if I keep sheltering myself. I'm tired of feeling like I'm standing in the shadows of my potential." There was a tremor in her voice, empathy woven through her determination. "Maybe you need to ask yourself what fears are keeping you from supporting me. It's scary for both of us." Emily's skepticism seemed to soften. "Scary indeed," she admitted, taking a step towards Sarah as if testing the new ground between them. "Do you honestly believe risking everything will be worth it?" Sarah's heart pounded not just from the confrontation, but from hope. "I have to believe that's true. Otherwise, what's the point?" But that newfound confidence was fragile. The door Emily seemed ready to open was risky, and a tumult beneath her surface whispered doubts louder than words. What if rejecting the role of the cautious daughter endangered the fragile bond they shared? Before she could navigate the minefield of their conversation any further, Anna re-entered, buoyant energy radiating from her. "What did I miss?" Sarah hesitated, glancing at Emily, the chapter of confrontation lingering on the brink of transformation. Would revealing her journey cause fissures, or could it be the catalyst for real change? "Just a discussion about vulnerability," Sarah replied, feeling the fissures of her choices crackle with potential. Each step forward into nimbleness stripped away layers of doubt, even as they threatened to overwhelm her, leaving promises of a brighter path shimmering just beyond her grasp. As Anna took her seat, the warmth returned to the space, but tension intertwined with an electric sense of potential disruption. With every bold choice Sarah faced, could she really step into the light of her true self while navigating the shadows of family bonds? Just then, a message notification buzzed on her phone, drawing all eyes towards the device. Her heart raced again, but this time in anticipation. The words on the screen promised a challenge that could solidify her resolve or undo it entirely. I found you an opportunity. Are you ready to commit to your art? With her breath held, the reality of what lay ahead sunk in, entwining her journey of self-discovery with the unexpected provocations of those around her. As Sarah's fingers hovered over the screen, what awaited her in this new opportunity could either ignite her ambitions or plunge her back into uncertainty once more. Sarah stared at the screen, the words dancing before her eyes, pulsating with potential and fear. That solitary message was more than a mere notification. It was a lifeline, an invitation to rewrite her narrative. Yet it also provoked the sharp pang of doubt that had shadowed her endeavors thus far. How could she commit to something bigger when her foundations felt precarious? The weight of Emily's watchful gaze was palpable. Distraction seeped into her thoughts, diverting her from the opportunity that lay at her fingertips. She had spent too long ensuring her actions were palatable, too long waiting for permission to take the bold steps she craved. Now, with the chance to embrace her artistry, she found herself teetering on the edge once again. "What's stopping you?" Emily's voice pulled her back, firm, yet laden with concern. Sarah bit her lip. Was it fear of failure, or the instinct to protect herself from criticism that held her back? The thought churned in her mind. The exchange with Emily had cracked a screen of comfort she had long hid behind, and now the rawness of her emotions spilled through the fissures. "I'm scared," she admitted, the confession rupturing the careful control she wielded. "What if I put everything into this and it falls apart? It's a risk, but what if it leads you to become the artist you've always wanted to be?" The encouragement in Emily's voice kindled a flicker of resolve within Sarah. Taking a deep breath, Sarah lifted her gaze, envisioning not just the failure, but the possibility that awaited when she dared to leap. Her fingers hesitated above the keyboard, the weight of what she was about to send coiling tight. This commitment required more than mere enthusiasm. It called for tenacity and a willingness to confront her vulnerabilities head-on. She had to break the cycle of hesitation. "I'm going to respond," she said, each word solidifying her intent. "But I need to set boundaries. I can't pretend this isn't a daunting jump." Emily nodded, a newfound respect reflecting in her eyes. "You can do this, but all the more reason to keep your integrity intact. What does commitment look like to you?" The question hung heavily in the air. It stirred an undercurrent of thought. Commitment wasn't merely about throwing herself into an opportunity. It was also about defining what mattered in her process. Resolving to be true to herself, she would have to construct parameters around this new pursuit. She had to map a route through the uncertainties. "I have to guarantee I'm doing this for me, not for what anyone else thinks," Sarah murmured, internalizing the weight of those words. The idea of fortifying her artistic voice with boundaries paved a way for tangible growth. Excitement bloomed alongside a newfound clarity. Taking a deep breath, she began tapping the screen, the rhythm of her fingertips sending ripples of determination through her resolve. "I'm ready," she typed slowly but purposely. "I'll commit to this if it means stepping into the light of my true self." As she hit send, a rush flooded through her. Anxiety coiled at the base of her spine, but it was accompanied by the vibrant thrill of empowerment. "Good choice," Anna chimed, oblivious to the charged atmosphere. Yet Sarah recognized that this choice was not merely good, it was transformative. "Now what?" Emily asked, a mix of curiosity and excitement radiating from her. Sarah paused for a split second, contemplating her next move. "Now I need to find a way to manifest this commitment into action without losing myself. It's more than a single decision. It's about crafting the path ahead with intention." The gravity of her revelation fueled a desire to dig deeper into her creative process, but it also sparked a new dilemma. There was a burgeoning realization that the journey would not just be about finding her voice, but also navigating the tightrope of expectations set by those around her. Expectations she had worked so hard to unshackle. "I might need your support along this way," Sarah admitted, meeting Emily's eyes, her vulnerability bending yet not breaking under the weight of their shared history. "I'm here for that," Emily assured, leaning in slightly, the tentative tension knitting into a buoyant camaraderie. Yet deep down, Sarah sensed impending challenges. She needed to stay vigilant against the whispers of doubt and the shadow of comparison. As she looked around, the colors of the room seemed to shimmer, alive with potential. But the path ahead still felt foggy. Was she equipped to face the looming provocations of this newfound dedication? Just as the excitement began to settle, her phone buzzed again, this time with a text from an unknown number. Sarah's heart raced. Could this bring the answers she sought, or would it unveil more complexities to navigate? Her thoughts swirled, uncertainty intertwining with resolve. It was clear. Whatever awaited her next would prompt a more profound reckoning of her ambitions and fears. As she prepared to open the message, she realized her journey thus far had only been the beginning. The real challenges loomed just beyond the horizon. The buzzing of her phone pulled Sarah from her reverie. She swiped to reveal the message, heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and fear. The content was simple. "Let's meet. I know you've got something exciting planned." It was from a colleague she hadn't spoken to in a while, someone who had always believed in her abilities more than she did. Instinctively, Sarah felt her stomach twist. Was this an opportunity or a pressure to perform? She instinctively began crafting a response in her mind, weighing the implications of her choice. Would she explicitly share her newfound commitment, or would she let the conversation unfold organically? "Who's that?" Emily asked, breaking the silence, her curiosity evident. "It's Kelly, from work. She wants to meet up," Sarah replied, trying to gauge Emily's reaction. Would she see this as an additional pressure, or perhaps as encouragement? "Sounds promising. What do you think she wants?" Sarah contemplated the question. Did she even know what she wanted anymore? This meeting felt like another test, a standard she wasn't sure she was ready to meet. For so long she had strived for acceptance within her workplace, drawing tight boundaries around her professional identity. Now, however, with her commitment to her artistry newly minted in her mind, everything felt up for renovation. Perhaps it was time to share her aspirations more openly. "I think she wants to talk about a collaborative project, but I just hit send on a commitment to pursue something more personal, and I'm not sure how I'll present that," Sarah admitted, hesitation weighing heavy on her words. "Then just be upfront. The right people will respect your journey, even if it's rocky," Emily replied, her confidence a reassuring balm to Sarah's uncertainty. Deep down, Sarah knew Emily was right, yet the idea of laying herself bare to peers was daunting. Could she truly share her vulnerabilities, her doubts, and still be perceived as competent? Once Emily left, Sarah sat in the silence of her room, the glow from the screen illuminating her contemplative frown. She had spent too long convincing herself that she needed to toe the line, to fit herself into neat packages for the comfort of others. What would it really mean for her creativity if she let her voice arise unfettered? The words of affirmation she had sent earlier rattled in her mind. She had committed to a journey of authenticity. Sarah took a moment to breathe deeply, anchoring herself to the vision of her artistry. She picked up her notebook, ink flowing from her pen as she scrawled her thoughts. How would she incorporate her personal journey into her professional life? What stories remained untold, stifled under the weight of expectations? As she pondered, Sarah's heart raced with excitement. But was she ready to invite that energy into a meeting with Kelly? There was another message from Kelly. "How about tomorrow? Can't wait to catch up." The urgency thrummed in Sarah's chest. Tomorrow? So soon. She raised the phone to reply, but hesitated, feeling the pressure crash over her like an unexpected tide. Avoiding the meeting felt like a coward's way out, but succumbing to the pressure of performance brought its own kind of fear. "Remember your intentions," she whispered to herself, grounding the whirlwind of uncertainty. She knew that every personal revelation she'd made recently had the potential to reshape her professional reality. Could she manage to merge these two worlds, or risk losing herself in the process? With newfound determination, Sarah typed a quick response, Sounds great. Let's meet up at 3. She hit send, the decision fraught with both excitement and trepidation. As the clock clicked into motion, she noticed how growth demanded confrontation, not just with others, but with her own fears. Tomorrow's meeting would not merely be a chance to network. It was Sarah's opportunity to take accountability for her voice, her passions, and ultimately herself. She put her notebook down and gazed out the window, staring at the horizon where the sun dipped, casting a warm, golden hue over everything. The path she had chosen was layered, complicated by the unknowns, yet she could feel something quite powerful bubbling within her. Yet just as she prepared to settle into this newfound clarity, her phone buzzed, announcing another message, ominous in its silent urgency. "We need to talk about the project," was all it said. Panic surged as she recognized the sender's name. It belonged to the manager who had consistently dismissed her ideas. What implications could this message hold for her burgeoning ambitions? With resolve to face whatever came next, Sarah took a deep breath. The true challenge awaited, and there was no turning back now. As the morning sun filtered through the window, illuminating her kitchen with a warm glow, Sarah felt a wave of clarity wash over her. With each breath, she steeled herself for the day ahead, a day that could shape the trajectory of her personal and professional journey. The message from her manager still loomed large in her mind. It was a call to action, an uninvited reminder of the pressures and expectations she had battled for so long. But this time, she wouldn't allow fear to dictate her actions. She knew that embracing her voice required more than merely acknowledging it. It demanded courage to stand firm, to assert her convictions in a world that often valued conformity over authenticity. As she prepared for her meeting with Kelly, the excitement of embracing her artistic pursuits coursed through her veins. Each cutting of fruit, each careful measurement of ingredients began to mirror her own inner creativity. She sensed a transformation. Every whisk of the batter represented a resolute declaration that she would no longer be overshadowed by others or confined by her fears. "Today is a new chapter," she whispered to herself, summoning confidence in the face of uncertainty. By the time she arrived at the coffee shop for her meeting with Kelly, she felt a blend of anticipation and determination. As she entered, her eyes skimmed over the vibrant artwork adorning the walls, each piece reminding her of the rich tapestry of creativity that surrounded her, an affirmation of her own rebirth. "Sarah, great to see you," Kelly greeted, beaming with enthusiasm. "You too. I've been looking forward to this," Sarah replied, her smile genuine, but her heart raced with nerves. As they settled into their discussion about past projects, Kelly's eyes sparkled with interest, oblivious to the storm brewing within Sarah. It felt effortless at first, a friendly exchange grounded in shared experiences. But then, as they veered toward the possibility of a collaboration, a feeling of trepidation bubbled to the surface. "I know the creative process can be tough," Kelly remarked with a hint of concern. "If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to pull back a little. You've shown great resilience, but how committed do you feel?" The question pierced Sarah, sending a jolt of realization through her. Consideration of yielding to external pressures felt suffocating, yet her response was rooted deep in newfound clarity. "Actually, I've been reflecting a lot. I need this to reflect who I am. I want to infuse my art into my baking, not just through flavors, but as raw, personal expression," she explained, the words tumbling forth, solidifying her intention. The surprise registered on Kelly's face. "That's bold. But what if it doesn't work?" Sarah's heart thudded, but she seized the moment, her energy igniting as she leaned in with conviction. "What if it does? I refuse to let fear cage my potential any longer. I want to explore my identity, both as an artist and a baker, without hiding behind expectations." The words hung in the air, filled with the weight of her journey and the brightness of her aspirations. In that instant, she could sense a shift. The environment fluctuated with possibility instead of doubt. "Wow," Kelly said, eyes wide with newfound respect. If we approach this, we can create something uniquely special, something both of us can be proud of. For the first time, Sarah felt a sense of belonging, a connection that thrived on mutual recognition of their creativity. Before she could bask in that glow, the unsettling notification from her manager flashed in her mind. "About my manager," she began, the tension creeping back as uncertainty bubbled within her again. "I've received a message requesting we discuss my involvement in the upcoming project. I'm worried it will derail what I've just committed to." Kelly's expression shifted to one of understanding. "You know what? It's your time to shine. You deserve a space in which you can explore your passion. Don't let them dim your light." Her words resonated deeply, a powerful exhortation to carve her own path. Sarah realized then that the meeting with her manager, whether it unfolded positively or negatively, remained an opportunity to further define herself and her desires. "Maybe it will push me toward clarity," she mused aloud, gathering strength as she leaned forward, locking eyes with Kelly. "I need to embrace the challenges ahead. After all, isn't that the core of true growth?" "Absolutely. You're setting a precedence, and it's about damn time," Kelly exclaimed, enthusiasm bubbling back into the air as they exchanged ideas for their collaboration. As they engaged in dynamic conversation, brainstorming, sketching concepts, and feeding off each other's creativity, Sarah felt herself expanding, embodying the creative spirit she had long sought to nurture. Then, in a moment of reflection, her phone vibrated again, showcasing another message from her boss. Sarah took a deep breath while her heart raced. "Should I open it now?" she asked, looking up at Kelly, who encouraged her with a nod. In that moment, Sarah knew that whatever awaited on the other side of that screen, she was prepared. She had already taken the steps towards reclaiming her narrative and forging her own identity. Her fingers hovered over the screen, determination coiling like spring water. This is the moment, she decided, embracing the intersection of her aspirations and authenticity. With a swift motion, she opened the message, confronting the next wave of opportunities without hesitation. Braced for whatever unfolded, Sarah realized that the true metamorphosis wasn't just about her art or her job. It was her ability to perceive herself as worthy. Confident and resilient, she was stepping into a future alive with potential. Her journey would no longer be defined by comparison or fear, but grounded in courage, creativity, and authenticity, a powerful ascent towards fulfillment. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your appreciation for authentic growth stories. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Sarah's transformation. Let's keep this discussion alive. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion, because true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting our journey through action. Don't wait even one more second.